What if everything you thought was deleted, every post you assumed was gone, was still there, waiting just beyond your reach? The internet doesn't forget, it just waits. Tonight, we'll uncover stories that should have been buried long ago. Welcome to LurmoStories, where the past never stays silent. And once it speaks, it's hard to turn away. You might wish you hadn't listened.
I'm typing this out for X because the university's incident form won't let me submit half of what's happening. Maybe someone here has seen something similar. I'm an adjunct professor at a mid-tier state university, and right now I'm sitting in my car outside Harrington Hall, trying to make sense of what I just walked into. The night starts normally. My seminar ends at 8:40 p.m. Students drift out, I gather my notes, same routine as always. I head toward the stairwell when I notice a freshly printed building map taped beside the door. It shows the floors, except on the basement level, which is supposed to be nothing but storage. There's a new label, B12, Seminar Classroom. It looks crisp, like it was printed this week. I've never heard of any new rooms opening. I tell myself I should check it out. Adjuncts always get blamed for not knowing things we were never told. As I go down the stairs, the atmosphere shifts. The usual dusty, overheated air of Harrington fades into something cold and scentless. The lights buzz overhead, same as always, but they feel too dim, like they're shining through tinted glass I can't see. At the bottom landing, the basement hallway stretches out cleaner than I've ever seen it. No janitor cart, no storage bins, no maintenance clutter. Just a long corridor with humming fixtures and that cold air pressing in around me. B12 sits at the end. Its door is wooden, old, with a small transom window glowing softly. That's the first thing that gets under my skin. Nobody uses this floor, so who turned a light on? When I reach the door, the glow looks wrong. It's warm, yellowish, like lamplight instead of fluorescence. It feels like the kind of light you find in a study room from another era. I push the door open. The classroom looks frozen in time. 4 rows of heavy wooden desks, chalkboard at the front, a narrow window up near the ceiling that shouldn't exist based on the building's exterior. The air feels completely motionless. No dust, no smell, no temperature change, just stillness. On the chalkboard, someone has written, October 12th, 1974. Under it, smeared faintly as if erased in a hurry, do not stay. I step inside because my brain keeps insisting there's a rational explanation. The door drifts almost closed behind me, the click echoing way longer than it should for a room this small. I scan the desks. Nothing seems touched. Nothing moves. Then a wooden chair in the back row slides an inch across the floor, even though I can see every seat and none of them are occupied. The sound is subtle, just a dry scrape of wood on tile. But in that still room, it lands like someone breathing directly against my ear. I freeze for a second, not out of fear, but confusion, because every chair I'm looking at is perfectly aligned. Nothing is out of place. I take a slow step backward toward the front of the room. The air feels thicker now, like humidity without warmth. My ears keep picking up small movements that don't match anything I can see. A faint shift of weight on a floorboard. The creak of an old desk settling. Too deliberate to be building noise, too spaced apart to be a draft. I clear my throat and say, "Hello? This area isn't open for classes. If someone's down here, I'm faculty." My voice sounds wrong, like the room absorbs it before it can echo. No answer. I back toward the hallway, but the door has stopped short of closing fully, hanging a few inches open. Through that gap, the hallway lights flicker. Not the normal irritated buzzing of bad fluorescence, but a steady, rhythmic pulse, like someone walking past each fixture in order. I move to leave, but before I reach the door, the chalkboard behind me gives a soft tap, like chalk hitting slate. I turn. A line has appeared beneath the date, written in the same careful hand. You are early. No chalk rests on the ledge. There are no footprints, no smudges, nothing to prove someone else is here. I grip the doorknob, cold metal, colder than it should be, and pull the door open. The hallway isn't the same. It stretches longer, much longer, and the overhead lights glow a dim amber instead of white. The concrete floor looks older, uneven, like a basement that hasn't been renovated in decades. The air down the corridor carries a faint smell now, warm dust, like old books trapped in a sealed room. I tell myself I just misremembered the layout. Stress, exhaustion, something mundane. But a part of me knows the building doesn't change shape based on who enters it. Behind me, the classroom door clicks shut on its own. I try the handle. It's locked. Completely. The kind of locked where the internal mechanism doesn't budge at all. My phone has no service, not even Wi-Fi, just a dead, gray icon where the signal should be. I take a slow breath and start down the hallway. There's nowhere else to go, and the stairwell should be only 40 feet away. Except now, it feels like I'm walking longer than that. The lights seem spaced irregularly. Some hum softly, others stay silent, and one flickers like it's struggling to stay alive. Halfway down, I notice the signs on the wall. They're old, like mid-70s typography. Fire exit with a faded arrow. Mechanical access only. The university replaced all signage 8 years ago. These shouldn't exist. A soft thud sounds behind me, back where the locked classroom sits. Not loud, not close, but definitely real. I don't turn around. The hallway bends left when it shouldn't, and at the bend, illuminated by a single trembling light, stands another door. B13, faculty office. This one isn't on any map, not even the new one. The door to B13, faculty office, looks older than the rest. Heavy wood, brass knob worn down to a dull sheen. A small rectangular window sits at eye level, but the glass is frosted from the inside, like someone pressed damp palms against it again and again. I don't want to touch the knob, but the hallway behind me feels wrong now. The lights hum out of sync, a low tremor passing from fixture to fixture, like something moving through the wiring. The air has that stale paper smell again, stronger now, like a library basement that's been locked for decades. I put my hand on the knob. Warm. Not room temperature warm, body warm. I pull my hand back on instinct, but the knob turns anyway, slowly, deliberately, as though someone on the other side is opening it for me. The door creaks an inch, then another. A narrow band of lamplight spills into the hallway, that same soft yellow glow from B12. I push it open the rest of the way. The office is small, cramped, with a metal desk pushed against one wall and shelves lining the others. Every shelf is filled with binders, hundreds of them, all labeled with dates spanning decades. Some are so old the paper labels curl at the edges. A single green banker's lamp illuminates the room with that warm, steady glow. But there's something else. A coat is draped over the back of the desk chair, a tweed blazer. Dusty, but not abandoned dusty. More like someone hung it there recently, in a room that shouldn't collect dust at all. On the desk lies an open binder. Its pages are crisp, not yellowed, fresh. The printed heading reads, Attendance, Basement Seminar Instructor. The name line is blank. Term, ongoing. Below it is a list of dates. Most range from the 70s through the 90s. But the last entry sits alone at the bottom of the page. Today, present. Next to the word present, there's a neatly drawn checkmark. No other names, no students, just me, apparently. My throat tightens. The hallway lights behind me flick off, one by one, popping softly like distant fireworks. The office lamp flickers as if the darkness is pressing in around it. Something shifts behind me. A footstep. Slow. Careful. The kind made by someone trying not to startle whoever is in front of them. I don't turn around. Instead, I stare at the binder and whisper, "What do you want?" The air moves, finally moves, in a slow tide past my shoulders, carrying the scent of old chalk and something metallic underneath it. The binder pages flutter once, though there's no draft. When they settle, new words have appeared under the attendance line, written in the same careful block letters from the B12 chalkboard. Class begins now. The office door shuts without sound. The lamp steadies. The hallway is gone. And as I finally turn, the space behind me is filled with rows of wooden desks. 4, then 8, then more than the office could ever hold, occupied by silhouettes seated in perfect, waiting stillness. That's where the report ends. I got out somehow, but the building map outside Harrington now lists B12 and B13 permanently, and facilities claims they've always been there. I've been the night manager at the Ridgeway Motor Lodge off I-17 for 8 years. The building's from the 70s, the kind with buzzing soda machines and carpets that never quite stop smelling like detergent. I run a tight front desk, clean logs, spare keycards, working camera feeds, simple. Last Thursday, around 1:40 a.m., a man came in, mid-40s, travel-creased clothes, a rental car still ticking behind him. He slid a reservation printout across the counter without saying much. Name, R. Danner, 1 night, prepaid. Nothing strange yet. I activated a keycard for room 112 and handed it over. He nodded, took it, and walked toward the south wing. A couple minutes later, through the lobby glass, I saw him stop by the ice machine. He checked the card, looked back at the hallway numbers like he expected something different. Then he went around the corner. At 1:57 a.m., he was back at the desk. Not angry, just unsettled. Your key isn't working? I asked. It works, he said, just for the wrong room. He placed the card on the counter carefully, like it was contaminated. It opens 118, he added, not 112. I checked the reader. The card was encoded for 112, exactly as I'd set it. I reprogrammed a new one, scanned it twice to make sure, and handed it over. He hesitated. There's someone in 118, he said. They didn't open the door, but someone was standing right behind it. I waited for more, but that was all he gave. Maybe another guest, I said. Probably they heard the latch and checked. No. He kept his eyes on the counter. The gap under the door, someone's feet were there before I even tried the handle, like they were waiting. He left with the second key. I watched him on the lobby camera walk straight to 112, try it, enter. No trouble. He shut the door behind him, so I figured the mix-up was done. At 2:13 a.m., the phone at the desk rang. Room 112. I picked up. Front desk, he whispered. Someone just tried my door. Housekeeping's gone for the night, I said. It wasn't housekeeping. They didn't knock. Before I could answer, he added, they used a key. I pulled up the electronic lock logs. The system shows every encoded keycard used on every door. According to the register, no card had tried room 112 at all since he entered. I told him that. He went silent for several seconds. Then he said, I think they want me to go back to 118. The line clicked dead. I looked up at the monitor showing the south wing. At the end of the hall, right outside 118, someone was standing motionless, too still, facing the door, not the camera. I checked the occupancy file. 118 hadn't been rented in 3 months. Even stranger, I'd placed a metal latch over its frame myself earlier that afternoon, sealing it off for maintenance. But on the monitor, the door was open just a few inches, and the person in front of it wasn't moving at all. I left the front desk only after checking every camera twice. The south wing feed kept stuttering, like the signal was being dragged backward through static. The figure outside 118 hadn't moved. Not a sway, not a shift of weight. Just a straight, fixed posture facing the cracked open door. I took the master key box with me. Policy says to call the sheriff for anything involving trespassers, but I've dealt with drunks, runaways, meth heads. This didn't match any of them. I needed to see what was actually happening before I made that call. The hallway was colder than the lobby. We keep the same thermostat setting everywhere, yet the air felt heavy, like it hadn't circulated in hours. The carpet muffled my steps. When I rounded the corner, the figure was still there. But it wasn't standing flush to the door the way it looked on camera. It was angled slightly toward me, like it had turned between frames. I froze mid-step, trying not to make a sound. Sir? I murmured. No response. I moved closer, slow, one hand near the radio. When I was about 10 feet away, I realized something was wrong with their outline. Their clothes were dark, nondescript, but the shape of the shoulders, too narrow at the top, too broad at the bottom, a silhouette that didn't line up with the proportions of any normal adult. I said louder, "You can't be down here. This room is closed." The person shifted a few inches, not stepping, more like gliding their weight without lifting their feet. Their shoes didn't scrape. And their head tilted, but only halfway, like it stuck at an angle it shouldn't stop at. That's when I saw something else. The door to 118 wasn't just open. The latch I installed earlier had been warped, bent inward, as if the metal softened and folded. I reached for my radio. Before I could raise it, the door to 112 opened behind me. It was Danner. He whispered urgently, "Did you see them too?" I motioned him back inside. "Get in your room. Don't come out." He didn't move. His eyes were locked on the figure at 118. "That's the same height," he muttered. Through the peephole I saw, just the top of the head. It was like they were pressed against the door. The figure rotated its whole body toward us, slow enough that I heard the fabric of its clothes shift. No sound from joints, no foot movement. Danner stepped backward into 112. I followed him inside and shut the door. The lock engaged, but the deadbolt jammed halfway, like something unseen was pulling against it. I forced it until it clicked fully. Inside, the room felt even colder. The curtains were moving, though the window was latched. "There's something wrong with this place," he said. The key opening the wrong room wasn't a mistake. It wanted me there. I didn't have time to process that. A sound came from the hall. Not knocking, not footsteps. A slow, dragging pressure against the doorframe, like fingertips sliding along wood grain. Then a voice. Not quite whispering, not speaking either. A low vibration, like someone was breathing words without shaping them. It stretched into the bottom of the door, leaking through the gap where light should have shone. Danner backed against the bathroom wall. I leaned in just close enough to hear. The voice repeated a single phrase, drawn out and uneven. "Wrong room." And the doorknob turned from the other side. Smooth, deliberate. Using a keycard, the internal click told me that much. Even though the system logs showed no card, but ours was active. The handle stopped turning only because the deadbolt held. The metal throbbed with each subtle push from the other side, like whoever, or whatever, was out there, was testing how much pressure the frame could take. Danner muttered, "It followed me from 118. It thinks I'm in the wrong room." He wasn't panicking. He sounded resigned, like he already knew something I didn't. I pulled him away from the door. "Listen, we're calling the sheriff." I grabbed the room phone. No dial tone. I tried my cell. No service. The motel's walls are thin. You can normally hear TVs, showers, arguments, everything. But right then, the entire wing sounded sealed off, like someone packed insulation into every crack. Then the hallway camera feed chimed on my walkie, an alert I'd only heard during maintenance tests. The tiny screen flickered. I switched to the South Wing channel. The figure wasn't at 118 anymore. It was standing directly outside 112, inches from our door, head angled toward the lens. The feed glitched. Vertical lines, stretched frames. Except the shape stayed crisp, sharp, and wrong. And on the screen, just before the image rolled into static, the door to 118 closed by itself. Quiet, controlled, like someone pulling it shut with care. I whispered to Danner, "What did you see in that room?" He shook his head. "I never went in, but the moment your key opened 118, it felt like someone was already waiting on the other side. Close. Too close." A creak spread across the top of the doorframe, wood straining, tightening. The overhead smoke detector blinked once, then died. The temperature dropped further. Every breath felt like inhaling cold metal. The voice came again, but clearer now. "Come back." Not angry, not mocking, just patient. Danner's knees buckled. "It's been doing that for miles," he whispered. "At rest stops, parking lots, always just behind a door." I thought I was imagining it until the keycards started switching on their own. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at the narrow gap at the bottom of the door. A shadow formed there, a perfect, still outline of feet. But the legs were too long, bending slightly inward, like they were bracing against the floor. Then the deadbolt began to turn backward. I held it, forcing it still, but something on the other side rotated with slow, implacable strength. Every few seconds, the metal twitched further, like the mechanism was being learned piece by piece. Danner whispered, "If it opens this one, it won't stop." I glanced at the window. Second floor, drop onto gravel. Better than waiting. I pulled the curtains. The latch was intact. I shoved the window up. Cold air flooded in. Finally, something normal. "Go," I told him. He didn't move. He looked back at the door. "It doesn't want you." The bolt clicked once more. I grabbed his arm. "Move!" But he stepped forward, toward the door, like he was answering a summons. The deadbolt gave a final metallic snap. I didn't wait. I climbed through the window and dropped onto the gravel hard enough to bruise my ribs. I turned back. Inside the room, the door opened only a few inches at first, just wide enough for a long, pale hand, wrongly jointed, fingers folding inward like they were double-boned, to slip through and beckon him. Danner didn't scream. He just said, almost relieved, "Okay." The door closed behind him. By the time I got back inside the building, the hallway was empty. Room 112's door stood open, lights off, no sign of either of them. The keycard logs had wiped themselves clean. Room 118 was sealed again, latch perfectly straight as if it had never been bent. Sheriff's deputies did a sweep. They didn't find Danner, They didn't find anyone, but they did ask why 2 rooms showed activity at the exact same timestamp, after the power outage that only I seemed to have witnessed. I didn't have an answer. All I know is that when I walk past the south wing at night, every door stays quiet, except 118. Sometimes I hear the latch shift softly, like someone is holding it from the inside, waiting for the wrong key again. Posting this because I don't know how else to get it out of my head. I used to work nights at an industrial park off Route 19 in Pennsylvania, the kind of place that looks abandoned even during the day. 6 warehouses, 2 machine shops, a plastics plant no one has operated since before I was hired, and a distribution center with a loading bay that echoes like a cave. My shift ran 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I did rounds every hour, logged temperatures, checked dock doors, made sure no one was siphoning fuel from the semi-trailers parked along the fence. Nothing strange ever happened in my first months there. The place had raccoons, the occasional vagrant, and metal that cracked loudly when the temperature dropped. Routine stuff. The kind of routine that makes you too comfortable. The first night it changed, I was writing my 1 o'clock report in the office, a prefab box with dead fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The cameras were grainy, old analog feeds patched into a digital recorder that always claimed the hard drive was full. I was staring at the monitor for Warehouse 4. There's a long central aisle between rows of shelving. At night, it's pitch black except for the emergency exit signs. I know that view like my own apartment. Something moved behind one of the shelving rows. Not a shadow, more like the camera auto-exposed for a split second, brightened, and caught a figure stepping out of the dark. Upright, human-sized, no reflective vest, no flashlight beam. Just a shape standing in the aisle as if it had been there all along. I leaned in, thinking maybe it was a spider crawling across the lens, but the figure shifted slightly, like weight transferring from one foot to the other. I grabbed the warehouse keys and started walking. The air outside was colder than it should have been. My radio crackled with a burst of static, just enough to sting my ear. Warehouse 4 sat at the far end of the property, its loading dock lights blown out years ago. The metal of the handle felt almost damp when I pushed the door open. Inside, it smelled like dust and wood pallets. My flashlight caught motes swirling in front of me. I stepped down onto the concrete. The building swallowed my footsteps instantly. I aimed the beam down the central aisle. The shelving rows looked normal, but the temperature felt wrong. A dense coolness, like standing in the shade of something massive. "Security," I called. "You're trespassing. Announce yourself." My voice didn't carry. It just folded into the air and stopped. Then something answered. Not words, just a low, deliberate scraping from deeper inside the rows, like someone dragging a boot in a slow half circle. I lifted the radio. "Unit 1 to base, do you copy?" More static, a longer burst this time. I took 1 step forward. The scraping stopped. For a moment, the warehouse was absolutely still, airless, like everything inside it was holding its breath. A metal shelf somewhere to my left gave a soft tap, as if a finger had pressed against it. Then another. Closer. I turned the flashlight toward the sound. The beam landed on a set of footprints across the dusted concrete, fresh ones, leading between the rows. But only one set, and they weren't walking deeper inside. They were facing me. The footprints stopped less than 10 feet from where I stood, toes pointed straight at me. No other marks around them, no heel drag, no smudge where someone might have turned. Just 2 clean impressions in the dust, as if the person had been standing there for hours without moving. I swept the flashlight around the shelving. Nothing. The beam shook more than I wanted it to. My radio hissed again, but instead of static, I heard something underneath it, a faint, rhythmic clicking. Not Morse, not tapping, more like someone lightly knocking on plastic, steady and patient. I backed toward the main aisle. Warehouse 4 isn't large, but the way sound behaves inside it always bothered me. It doesn't echo, it just sits in the space with you. I kept the light on the floor, looking for more footprints. There were none. The dust was undisturbed except for the 2 prints facing me. I keyed the radio again. "Base, respond." The clicking stopped immediately. That somehow felt worse. I made myself walk toward the rear exit. Protocol says if you suspect a break-in, you clear both doors. But something was off. Every few steps, the air changed. Warmer, colder, warmer again, like I was walking past invisible machinery cycling on and off. Halfway down the aisle, one of the shelving units creaked. The metal didn't shift, it flexed. A slow bend, as if weight had settled on the opposite side. I held my breath, waited for movement, then circled wide to avoid the row altogether. That's when the emergency exit sign at the far end blinked out. A soft pop, almost apologetic, and the red glow disappeared. The aisle beyond dropped into complete darkness. I should have retreated. Instead, I raised the flashlight and kept moving, telling myself I'd finish the sweep and file the report. The air was colder now, enough that I could see a thin mist when I exhaled. My boots scuffed something on the floor, a plastic ID badge. I stepped on it by accident and the card skittered under a pallet. But I'd seen the company logo and the name. It belonged to a guard who had quit before I was hired. The clicking sound returned, louder now, but it wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from inside the shelving rows, moving slowly parallel to me, keeping pace. I tried the rear exit door. The crash bar wouldn't move. It wasn't locked. It just felt like something was braced against it from the outside. I pushed harder. It didn't budge. The clicking stopped again. A moment later, the shelving beside me groaned. Not a creak, a buckle, like metal losing shape.
A shadow crossed the open aisle. Not a figure, but the suggestion of one, tall and narrow, cast by no identifiable source.
I stepped back. My boots struck something soft. A jacket, security issue, folded carefully on the floor. I bent down. The fabric was warm. The emergency sign flickered once, not fully lighting, just enough to illuminate the aisle for a split second, enough for me to see that the two footprints in the dust were no longer there. But a new pair was, behind me. Close enough that if I'd taken one more step back, I would have stepped into them. The new footprints behind me were deeper, pressed down as if someone had landed there rather than stepped. The dust around them was perfectly still. No drag marks, no trail leading in or out. Just two impressions where there hadn't been any seconds before. My throat tightened. I raised the flashlight slowly, angling it upward from the floor. The beam caught the lower rungs of the shelving, then the mid-tiers stacked with boxes, then the dark gap between the rows. Nothing moved, but the air felt crowded, like someone was standing inches away, deciding what to do with me. The clicking resumed. Not ahead, not beside, but above. Higher than any shelf. Measured. Calm. Like fingertips tapping on steel from a place no one should have been able to reach. I whispered, "Who's here?" The tapping stopped mid-click, as if whoever was doing it had turned their attention directly toward me. I didn't wait. I walked the length of the aisle without looking back, keeping the flashlight tight to my chest. The temperature shifted with every step. Cold, warm, cold, until my skin felt numb. The warehouse door came into view, faintly outlined by the orange sodium light leaking from the parking lot. I pushed it open and stepped outside. The relief didn't last. The entire industrial park was silent, too silent. No highway hum, no night insects, not even the distant rumble of freight trucks from the distribution center, just a flat, swallowing quiet. My radio crackled once, a single tone, then a voice, low and monotone, speaking in the cadence of a shift report. Unit 1, continue sweep of Warehouse 4. Not my supervisor, not a voice I recognized. It sounded like someone repeating a line they had heard but didn't understand. I walked backward toward the security office, keeping Warehouse 4 in view. A faint glow flickered inside for a moment. Not a light, more like reflected movement. When I reached the office door, something lay on the concrete threshold. A second ID badge. This one had my name on it. The picture didn't look right. The expression was off. Eyes slightly unfocused, like the subject wasn't looking at the camera, but at something behind it. The office lights were on. They shouldn't have been. I left them off before heading to the warehouse. Through the window, I saw the monitors flickering, each camera feed cycling through static, stabilizing for half a second, then glitching again. On every feed, Warehouse 1 through 6, there were shapes present where no one should have been. Silhouettes standing in aisles, in docking bays, against loading doors. One of the shapes turned. The feed distorted, then sharpened. Its face wasn't visible, but its posture matched mine. My radio clicked again. Unit 1, the same voice said, closer now, clearer. Return to Warehouse 4. The warehouse door across the lot eased open, just an inch, without sound. Every monitor in the office froze at once. All the silhouettes on screen shifted their heads toward the camera, like they were waiting for something. I left the industrial park that night and never went back. But the badge with my name on it wasn't there in the morning. A different one was. Same name, different photo. And in the picture, I'm standing in the aisle of Warehouse 4.
The web holds many secrets, and LurmoStories will keep digging to find them. Tonight's stories may be over, but don't expect peace. We'll be back with more, and next time, it might be closer than you think.